Alright, so my VDCs have been created, users and groups have been created. Now pretty much I'm ready to move some workload back and forth. So and here are my two VDCs in my AWS. So what I'll do is I'll go into my enterprise templates. I'll actually import an image. I'll upload an OVA file, and I'll call it CentOS 63. It's a small image that I'm gonna find on my local drive here. Okay, I'm gonna upload this image now. This is about 300 meg, very small image, not very big. So what I'll do is that I'm going to use this image that will do two things for me. One, obviously, I'm going to upload a PNSC, and I can push it to the public cloud and make it available as a orderable item for my users. So image upload done. So I'm going to wait till what happens is it has to unpack it and do some sanity tests. It doesn't take much time, but a couple of minutes. And after that, what I will do is I'll create a catalog for this and upload it into the cloud as well. So when I click on organization service request, and this is my image upload process. So when you open it up, you can see that it's uploading the image to PNSC. So it might take a couple of minutes. So meanwhile, I want to show you my AWS profile. So here's my EC2 instance. So just so you get a hang of what to expect. So there are 3 running instances that show up here. This one instance is actually a test server. As you can see, it's a T1 Micro. This is a free server, free VM that I was able to spin up, because I think Amazon gives you a set of free VMs for the first year. This is my ICS switch that is part of the connection between ICX. And usually this is a temp image. What happens that the way it's done is that it creates a temp image, and then it establishes connectivity to the temp image. Then it does some backend stuff and converts an image. So you will see most of the time that this temporary image will show up, and after several hours this will get deleted as part of the process of Cloud Fabric. Okay, let's do a refresh here, and as you can see, this request was completed. Okay, now that I have that, I can go back and do my compute, and then I can see, look at my templates. This is a file that I just uploaded. I'm gonna create a template in cloud and create a catalog. So the template name, I'll just call it CentOS 63, and the cloud that I have is AWS, only one cloud. I'm going to add a couple more clouds later, but so this process might also take some time, simply because now we have to move a 300 or so megabyte image through a secure tunnel, encrypted, onto Amazon. So catalog name, what do I want to call it? I want to call it CentOS app, let's call it web server. It's a Red Hat, so CentOS image. I'm going to pick an image from there. Who can access it? So I'm gonna make sure that they both, Coke and Pepsi, both can access this image, or they will both show up. This will show up in both the categories. So now here's what the difference is. So this is where I pick what category I want it to be. So here, since I picked app or web, I'm going to make sure that it's part of the web category. So it's going to pick that nick from the web. and Windows Ubuntu, let's see, CentOS. Submit. And I might create more where, you know, one would be an app category, so I can do that too. But I'm going to wait for this workflow. Typically these workflows do take some time, so I don't want to slow a workflow down by pushing too much stuff on PNSC to do simultaneously. So here's this this workflow in progress. Okay, so it's going to create a template in cloud. Okay, and the other thing, so you might be wondering, where do the other three images come from? So as you can see, when you went to Intercloud and you looked at enterprise templates, you saw these three additional templates there. So the way this happened is because it looks at it connects to vCenter, and then it queries vCenter on the existing templates that it has available. So let me log into my vCenter. And I will show you that in a second here on where those three images came from. So if I click on VMs and templates, and here you have those three images, 6.3, Ubuntu Mini right there, and Windows 2K8 right there. So that's how it pulls. So it pulls these templates out for you automatically. So if you have an environment where you already have a lot of templates, you can right here, you can say, yep, deploy this template into cloud, or make it available to a user, and at that point that becomes available. The other thing you can do is that you can look at all the VMs that you have up and running in, let's say, in my production, which is what I want to use. I don't have anything up and running, as you just saw, it's all turned off, but I can assign a VM to a group. So let me actually fire one VM up, and then we'll get through the process. So let's do a CentOS 6 new VM, I guess. Let's just power it on. And what I'm going to do is that once it powers on, I'm going to double check things, and then I'm going to assign that VM to a category, or to a group. So a user will kind of own it, and at that point they will be able to migrate to the cloud. So this is the one that we picked, and I'll show you how to do it. So I can assign it, and when I assign it, I'm going to say, what group do I want to assign? So I'm going to assign it to Coke. And then what VDC? If you remember, we only created one VDC for Coke. So, but this VDC has two options as far as where you want to put it. I can put it in category 0, which is web, and category 1, which is app. So I can leave it on web, and if I want to use a user label or make some, make some additional changes on when do I want to deploy it, or when do I want to deploy it, I can give some timing as well. So anyway, so I'll assign this right now, although this VM is still not up, or it's getting turned on, it's getting activated right now as we speak. So let me log back into that space right here. So here's the VM. If I look at Open Console, let's see what we get here. So let's see if I can log in. Already. So it doesn't have any interfaces right now, as you can see. And this is very common scenario within VMware. When you clone an image or clone a template, VMware gets to do something interesting. They will hack your MAC address, because it builds a new MAC address and it messes up a lot of the Linux VMs. So you want to go to your persistent rules, and you will see that what happens here. Well, in my case, I only have one. Typically, you will see another adapter here. So and then you just have to figure out how to get rid of it, right? Let's see, what I can do if config. You know what? I'm not even sure if I have the interface connected, so let's take a look at it. That is settings, network. Oh, it is connected. Okay, it is connected to app too. So let's see if ETH0. All right, there it is. If config, let's do service. Let's see. Now service network in restart maybe. Service network restart. Okay. Well, it didn't bring up my Ethernet 0 or my. That is interesting. Let's take a look at what's going on here. My network scripts, I guess. If CFG ETH0. Well, I don't have one, that's why. So I'm gonna have to create one. Let's see if I have a template here somewhere. I don't, so I'm gonna edit one. I'm gonna if CFG dash ETH0. So let's just do it manually. Device ETH0. Turn it on as a static interface. IP address we want to do, since it's an app, I'm gonna put it into one of the VLANs in app. So my app network is 172.16.30. I want to say 11. Gateway 172.16.30.1. Net mask equal 55.0. On boot. On boot. Turn it on. Yes. What else do we need? Just put some basic stuff. Type Ethernet, and I don't want IPv6 on this. Say IP. You know what? Forget it. I think this should do it. If I do service network restart, I think it should get those things. Yep. There you go. Let's see. It should read that file. Okay, if config, there you go, 172.16.30.1. Good, you're in business. Alrighty, so now that I have that, and this VM is assigned to this user called Coke, or this group called Coke, what I should be seeing is that if I log in as a user called Coke, I should be able to see. So I'm gonna, here's a browser window with I'm going to call it 172.16.20.2. Okay, Coke user. Okay, so when this user logs in, obviously when the catalog is published, it will show up here as a catalog item. And then I also assigned a bunch of VMs, so obviously you can look at his service requests if he has created any, like if he requests a move, or if he requests a VM to be ordered in the public cloud, and if there is any approval change, you can see it here. And from a resources standpoint, a couple of things happen, right? I click on VM, and here is that VM that got assigned to this user. So it shows as powered off, and it's probably because of the polling frequency in my ICF. So I can go back here, and I can really quickly actually go to compute and go to my production and look at my polling frequency right here, and I can actually do a request inventory. So what this will do is that this will go back, pull the cluster, and then it will realize that yep, that machine is up with the status, and then I may be able to see and this I believe is also a service request. Well, no, it's not a service request, which is good. And then our template creation, the cloud is in progress. Let's see. Can I click on details, and I'll see what is going on here. So the upload has started. As soon as the upload gets started, it somehow figures out that it's already at 95%. Then it stays at 95% forever. Anyway, alright, so that's that. Now I'm gonna go back to my cloud, my compute, take a look at my prod again and see if my VMs do a refresh. Oh, there it is. It says it's on. Okay, now if I come back here as a user and I do a refresh, it's on. Bingo. Alright, so once I am able to get this user the ability to have control over this VM, he's able to do a couple of things. He can move the VM to cloud. He can move it back from cloud. So some of those things that you would expect a user to be able to do from this single pane of glass. So gives you a lot more flexibility, for not needing to provide your internal users access to the cloud portal, public cloud portal, because you are able to provide them exactly what you need or what they need from here. So the two VDCs that we had associated them with this particular group, here's my public VDC and here's the private VDC. You can look into it and see what's going on, what on his private VDCs, how many VMs are there, and this is a very classic view of UCS director. The number of VMs on that particular VDCs, here's one of them, and then he gets to take a look at some brief reports in terms of what is going on from the utilization, etc. Alright, so I'm going to be back once this catalog is populated, or once this workflow that we are running is complete. And right here, so this workflow started at 22:04, so according to my math, it might take about an hour and a half before it's complete. Alright, so I'll be back. One thing that's interesting is that when I go into the network configuration of my cloud, my public cloud, you will see that I have these two VDCs that I've created, but when I go into Prime Network Services Controller, I don't see my orgs here. I don't see those VDCs show up as orgs here. So even if I go to Intercloud Management, I can see most of the stuff that is linked up there, but I don't see those orgs that I created here. So the problem is when I want to assign a security policy, or if I want to do a CSR, I have to be able to tell what suborg or what tenant will it be part of. So I need to create some tenants here. And the way you do that on Intercloud Fabric is obviously from your port profile configuration. So if you recall, I had created these port profiles. These are actually in my cloud right now. As you can see, it's actually tied to the org, the default org called ICF Cloud. But when I click edit and I enable for services, that's when I get an option of creating this new org. Because I don't have an org right now, the parent org is root, there is no tenant here. So because services are tied to tenants, so I have to create a tenant here. So I'm gonna create one for Coke and maybe also for Pepsi. I'm gonna give app for Pepsi, and I'm going to create web. I'm gonna tie web with Coke. Yeah, PNSC is busy with other things, so anyway. And now you can see its port is tied to org port Pepsi or Pepsi. If I go to PNSC, and here's Pepsi, it just got created right now. And you know, it's interesting how this ties itself to something other than what you would have thought. So anyway, I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to say enable for services for this, and I'll create a new org called Coke. So when I enable for services, this allows me to instantiate VSG, etc. on my PNSC. So maybe I'll go do that next. Configure my PNSC for VSG. Okay, done. And if I go to PNSC, obviously both Coke and Pepsi are here. So Coke is my, it's tied to my web port profile, which I don't like the way it's kind of ties. But anyway, so let's click on Coke. I'm going to click on Resource Management, Manage Resources, Coke, and I'm going to say inside Coke I want to add a compute firewall. Call it Coke ESG or something like that. How about this? Coke ESG is the host name, and Coke app firewall. That's what I'll call it. Okay. Hit next. I need to assign it, and it's going to instantiate on the cloud. I'm going to pick this image, this VSG image that's already there, and then give it a password. And hit next. Then I need to add a couple of interfaces at least. So management interface, I'll put in my management network 116.20. I'll give it 21 for VSG, and whoops, 172.16.20.1. Service profile and port profile is going to be my VLAN 20. So this is my management VLAN 20. Okay, I'm going to add another interface, data interface. Now this is the one that if you recall, we created a data VLAN early during the configuration, and that was this. And this is our access 50, 116.50.10 already. Next, finish. Okay. So now it's going to create that firewall for me. And tied to that, so it's creating it, as you can see. It's going to tie it to this Coke. I'll make it available, I guess, for the Coke tenant on PNSC. So the VSG, or the virtual security gate, the firewall that we have here, the compute firewall, this is actually a zone-based firewall. So now we need to create some zones. So the best way of doing that is go under policy management, and I'll create the service policies. So these are my service profiles, here's my service policies. And I'm actually going to go into my organization here, which is Coke. and I need to add a zone. So let's vzones. There you go. So I'm going to add a zone under my Coke org. Call it. Let me just call it a web zone or something like that. Web zone. So what defines the web zone? So I'll just add a condition. So I'm going to say a VM that has let's say a VM name attribute contains the word web. I don't think I have anything like that, but anyway, so that would be one. So I'll say this is, and I can add other conditions too. The other condition that I might add, well, let's leave it that. This match all would mean obviously I would match all these conditions. Match any means I would match any of these conditions. That you saw, there are multiple conditions you can do. You can put a network, IP address. You know, you can create some custom user-defined attributes too. And VM attributes are pretty common. There's a lot of VMs attributes out there that you can leverage. So I've created a web zone. Now I can say, let's assume that my VM is on web. Now I need to create some conditions for this zone too, right? So these conditions are essentially profiles. So I guess I'll just click on policy management and service profiles, and under Coke, compute firewall policy profiles here. I don't have anything here. Maybe I'll just add a compute security complete profile, I guess, here. So I'm going to give it a name here, something that I can remember, I guess, or a rule set basically. This is where I'm going to add my policies. So under here I'll say web access policy. Select a policy set. Here I can add a policy set because there's nothing here as a default ingress either, so I'll just add a policy set. And I can say, you know, well, you know what, I can use an ingress access policy, see what's available. So what is the ingress access policy? Default ingress, what does it do? Changing the policy set will change the resolve policy. Do you want to resolve? No, I don't want to do that. But I don't have a policy. I don't know why it says that. So right now this policy is nothing basically. So create a ACL set. Let's do it. Let's call it app to web. And I'm going to add an actual rule here. So permit app to web, add a rule. Enable SSH. Let's see. Okay, let's see. SSH access. So I'm going to say permit. Yep, let's log it. I don't care for log. Match all. You have to match this condition. Source and destination protocols. Okay, so let's do source and destination. Add. My source is a VM. I'm going to need an attribute here. Let's call it a VM name that contains app. So, and the destination is a vzone, which I've already created, called webzone. So, and then service, what do I allow here? Equal TCP SSH. We have SSH here. I don't SSH. Should be secure shell. Secure, no. I just added TCP. Protocol TCP. And create a custom one. I don't feel like SSH is in here, I just can't see it. Oh, secure shell right there. But its port is 614, why is that? Doesn't make any sense. Oh, SSH, there you go, 22, perfect. Alright, so what I'm saying is that, if a VM, permit this, that's the only thing I'm allowing from an SSH stand. That's the only thing. Protocol, and I don't have any advanced settings here. Press OK. So here's my policy saying permit app to web, and I'm hoping that there's a deny all at the end anyway, so we'll check it out. So permit app to web, this is something that I've added here. Okay, so this is an assigned policy. I can adjust it up and down, I guess. Here, what is this? Oh, that's my existing policy. Okay, so okay, and I've added this policy called permit web. So I should be able to, the only thing I should be able to do is from my web, any VM that has app in the name can SSH to the VMs on my web zone. Alright, so that policy has been created. That's now I guess we have to tie this to a service path. So this policy is here. So the way we tie it to a service path is you click on policy management, back to services. What is this? Service policies. Service policies. Back to my Coke, and I click on policies, and I should see a service path, and then I can add a new service path. Now, what does this do here? So I'll add a name that makes better sense for me, I guess. I'll just do I'll call it a ESG service. Add an entry for my service path. So it's definitely a compute. Add a service path. Node. And I'll call it ESG service path. Service node. This is a compute firewall. It's a Coke app firewall is my node. This is the one that I created earlier. So I need to add basically I'm telling it, hey, which firewall should I use it. Now failover mode, leave it as closed, which means if it fails, it will just completely block traffic. It's a layer 3 adjacent. So that's good. So I have a node, and I'll use this policy, web access policy, and tie it to this node. So now what I've done is I've basically created the path which tells me that this policy needs to be tied to this node, which is something that I can use. All right. So I think at this point, I should be able to. This policy should come into play. The thing is that my VMs don't have those names, so I need to figure out how would I add those names into my VM so I can test this policy? But this is the 3-step process. Basically, you create, you enable your firewall, create the service. You create your zones. So I just have one zone, and then you create your profile, which exactly tells you, what is the policy for that zone. So definition, policy, and then how you tie these things together using your service path mechanism. Alright. So there's one last thing we need to do, I guess. So we have to go to resource management, go back to our manage resources, go to our cloud, and then under port profiles, this is our port profile called web. So I should edit this and then select the service path that I've shown. So here, that's the service path that I tied. And then I guess we apply OK, and that service path is tied here. Now I'm wondering if I have the same level of access that I had before. So I was able to SSH to this box before. See if I can still do it. Yep, I lost connectivity, I guess. 172.16.30.11. Okay. Root. And this is where I need. Okay, there you go. Alright. Now I was able to SSH to this host before from this, so the VM that sits in the cloud, I was able to SSH to it. So, and now that I have the firewall, I'm going to see if I can or cannot do it. So ping 102.16.40.41. Nope, the firewall is active. Can I SSH 102.16.40.41. So the firewall is active and I'm not able to SSH to the other host. So clearly the firewall is active and up and running.